Hi everyone! Long before I did any of the games in Unity, I used Construct 2, an HTML5 visual scripting based programming. Today I want to show you all my games made with this engine, and I already can say that these weren't very good games, as I knew almost nothing about good game design. But that was a very important time for me because I could learn all of that as a child. I made my first year at the end of 2015 and I call it Survive Experiments. At the time, I was mostly messing with the engine to see what is possible to do. It was an arcade platformer, when you needed to avoid every obstacle between you and the finish line. This game was inspired by the series Give Up. I started New Year with a Triz. I learned some basic pixel art, and I can already say I wouldn't do much better right now. Again, it was a platformer, but this time nothing was trying to kill you. It was all about looking for the hidden cubes in the different dimension. 2 months after, I took up to make a top-down shooter named Blue Assassin. Yes, I was a genius at naming games. This project featured couple levels and couple different weapons, but it quickly bored me, because it didn't have the good dynamics that I wanted. So the same month I created a new project called Mutant's Revenge. It was again a platformer, but now with cool wall-walking mechanics. It was a game about a mutant who escaped a cage and wanted to kill everyone in the laboratory. I liked this game, but again, it wasn't as dynamic as I wanted, so I moved to the next project. In 6 Crew, I wanted to show 6 epic scenes from the movies I've seen back then. For example, there was a character named Rambo, or a level when you were jumping in a car between high buildings. Definitely not inspired by any Fast and Furious movie. At the end, the game wasn't quite fun at all. Not long after, I started working on Last Flight, which was the first game that was seen by someone else than me, and it was published on the Google Play Store. This was a quickly made arcade game, in which the point was to get the highest score possible. And as in many mobile games, you could unlock many different skins. Next, I was making semi-open world space game. You could gather resources, explore, build structures on planets, and fight enemies. But every couple minutes after starting the game, it crashed. And it was no way possible to fix that. So I created Super Drift, which was a 2D racing game. But even driving wasn't fun. Next month I made one of my biggest games, Retro Galaxy Wars 2. To this day it remains as one of my favorite games I made. It was a very fun project, when you command your allies to the victory. I created about 30 levels with unique planets where they could produce allies, transport them by teleportation, or even destroy planets. With ongoing motivation, I created another Android game, Orbit Rocket. It was an arcade game where you needed to avoid rain of the meteorites and collect as many stars as you can. I took the mechanic from the Flappy Bird. The next game was a fun project, Swarm Track. I think you know what this game was inspired by. Well, it's nothing more I can say about this project because it's simply just a 2D clone of a Landfall game. The next game I created was Jump and Jump. I don't know, it was just frustrating. Next I came back to the strategy genre and I created Color Kingdoms, which had its original idea in painting the battlefield in your color. Your allies could walk faster on your color, but any different mechanics weren't that original. It was quite boring at the time, but I liked creating colorful paintings. In Snowboard Madness, you could avoid rocks and trees in style, and eat the fast speed. But sometimes you needed to be aware of the strangers living in the mountains that wanted to catch you. Again, a very simple idea, but this time it was a very relaxing game. Beginning New Year, this was a time for my very first and very last sequel, Retro Galaxy Wars 2. This time I had many great ideas in my mind, but ended up making different looking, probably worse, original Retro Galaxy Wars game. I addressed couple limitations from the first game, made it better optimized and made new sprites, but at the end I think it didn't have anything original that the base game didn't have. After all of that, I wanted to create a puzzle game. I called it Raise Glow Below, which in short was RGB. This game was clearly inspired by the Talos principle. It featured colored lasers, where some of them had different properties. For example, the general limit of connectors was to receive or send 2 signals at once, but if they were pink, they had a limit of 3. Or a cyan laser could intersect with other lasers. The art style of the game was one of the best I made. I created 5 worlds with 4 puzzles each. I even included couple secret stars to collect, exactly like in the Talos principle. This was about to be my last Construct 2 game, because of all the IT stuff we were learning in a new school. But I came once to create a couple projects. This was when I had a face for neural networks and artificial intelligence. Before I learned Python, I experimented in Construct 2. First was an AI self-driving car, which was supposed to learn generation by generation. Next, I tried making a game in which the player fights basically himself, because the AI was supposed to learn your moves, but it didn't work out as intended, although the outcome was pretty interesting. The last AI project was probably the most successful one. It was number recognition project, which I somehow get working, and after some training it, well, could recognize numbers. To this day, I have completely no idea how I packed a simple neural network into Construct 2 with visual scripting. After all those projects, I finally created my last game in Construct 2, Zen Tree, the mesmerizing tree generator. I could watch these trees grow probably for too long. Look at them. And that were pretty much all the Construct 2 projects that matter, because I probably made much more of them. I hope you liked this video, because it was quite different from any that I published before, and everything requires so much setup to actually record this. But if you want to play any of the games I published on Google Play Store, you can probably search for them, but I made it harder because I didn't provide any link, because I didn't want it. Please don't look for them, I don't recommend it. Please.